Welcome back. I wasn't actually going to film this, but it got a little more interesting, so I thought I'd bring you along. 2003 Mercury Sable single overhead cam, 3.0 liter, extended crank, no codes. After it sits for a while, has an extended crank. And when it runs fine. No drivability issues, no misfires or anything like that. So the first thing I want to do is look at fuel pressure. There is no Schrader port on this. Going back to the fuel filter, which is by in front of the passenger rear tire next to the gas tank. And when I got down under there, I could see on the front of the gas tank, in the middle, it was wet. It's leaking somewhere. So I'm going to bring you along, show you what I found, and what we need to do to fix this problem. All right, so I'm looking from the back of the car. There's the gas tank. It's sitting on my platform jack. You can use a regular jack with a piece of wood, spread the load out. There's two straps that bolt up in here, 13 millimeter. I loosen those two bolts, take those two bolts out, and I disconnected my filler hose because you can't drop it down. It kind of gets in the way of the suspension. And up in here, I'll try to show you this line here, onto this line, and the vent line here that goes to the filler neck. There's in that corner over there, try to show you that, is the fuel filter. But up here, I'm going to try to set this camera here while I do a few things. You can see that elbow from the top of the fuel pump housing. I'm going to have you watch that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go turn the key on and build pressure in the system. And I'm going to do it several times till I get the pressure up to about 40 psi. And I think you'll see where the leak is. But you can see it's wet right there, a little bit wet. You see, you can hear my fingernail on it. That's actually catching where it's cracked. And there you see, there you go. See it? You can see it coming out of there now. That's where it's leaking. And that's what the problem is with the extended crank. So I'm going to finish dropping this tank, pull it out, and we're going to go through putting a new pump and housing. And you see it dripping right there. I thought originally it might have been that hose connection, but it's not. It's the actual fitting itself, and there you can see it dripping now, which is what I saw when I first looked at it. Pretty interesting. Leaking right out of that fitting. That will come with a new pump. Might be able to show you this crack with a thin bladed knife here. I'm not pushing that in, it's actually cracked. So if I go along the seam, it's cracked all the way back to here. But that's actually right there. You can see that going in, hopefully. That's where it's split. This thing's split there. I didn't push that through, it just went through the crack. That's where it's cracked, right on that seam. There's a seam along top of that, it's right where it cracked. Nice. Quality construction. Next Ford. OEM too. 61,000 miles on the car. That happens. So, there we go. Pull this out. I'm trying to dump everything into the tank. It's not that full. Back you up. Pumps in, checked it against the old one. Let's match up. Oh, look at that. Give you new retainer clips too with it, figuring you're going to break the other ones getting them apart, which I did. I'll put that in my collection because I had a couple already. Well, that's good. Not a good start. Look at that. I don't know what. Not the right pump, but certainly not the right seal. That's for sure. I don't know what that came from, but I had the old one, and it's in good shape. So I guess we'll reuse that one. Doesn't give me warm and fuzzy feelings, I'll tell you that. Alright. Shift this in here. We'll say the other one was just as hard getting in and out, so I'm not surprised. There we go. Should be a notch on this. Yeah, little notch on either side and an arrow. Can't see that, but there's a little notch here. Got to line them up. Probably should have taken this off of. I had a brain. I probably would have taken this off of my jack. It'd be a little more stable. Yeah, I put it on upside down, of course. This way. Let's try that. Yeah, as soon as I let go of that, it will pop up. Key is to get it started all the way around. That actually started pretty well. I think. I'll know in a minute. And then just lock it back down. Okay, it's locked in. Let's roll it back under here, and I'll move you after I get it started. I'm going to hook this up right now. Since I have it apart, it's a lot easier to hook this up now. It should go kind of like that, although it will spin, so not a big deal. Here, click on, it's locked on. Pads back up in their spot. I'm going to do just what I did coming out. I'm going to put this in part way, pick it up enough to hook it up, and then I'm going to put pressure on it before I install everything back together. This goes over there. You can plug this back in. Clicked in. Good. All right. I'll bring you down here in a minute. All right, I'm going to try to show you as much of this as I can. We're just going to start picking this back up a little bit. It's not a lot, but a little. Start hooking things back up. Vent tube, put my clamp back on there. I want to get this up above the suspension along with this. Right now I don't need to hook them up because I just want to test the fuel pressure. So I've got to get it close enough to get my I'm going to go over and hook my line back up to my fuel filter that runs up to the rail. My electrical connector hooked back up. Alright, so I've turned this on and got my pressure up. If you don't have a scanner to do it. You can just cycle the key from key on, engine off to off, back and forth every couple seconds, and you'll hear the pump run and it'll build pressure for you. Let's go take a look underneath and see if it's leaking. I hope not. Okay, well, hopefully you can see that. It's definitely not leaking. No leak now. That's a good thing. Plenty of pressure. So we're just gonna put the tank back in, hook everything back up, and run it, make sure it's okay. All right, let's go start this thing up. See how it cranks, see if it has an extended crank. I don't really expect it to. And then we'll hook the scanner up, take a look at the scanner data, look at the fuel pressure, and see how it's behaving. No extended crank. There's your fuel pressure running at idle. Got 40 psi. I'm going to go shut it off. Let's see how it behaves. .55 psi at the fuel rail. It's better than it was before. Would never go that high before, probably because of the leak in the back. It was bleeding off pressure. It's leaking down real slow, which kind of expected, but not very much. Don't laugh. Well, that's it for the 2003. Can't remember what it was. Mercury Sable. Without an extended crank, no codes. Turned out to be a leak on the elbow going to the top of the fuel pump housing. Plastic Ford OEM, 60,000 miles, cracks right along the seam. The new one does not have a seam on that elbow at all. So I had to replace the housing, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. Wanted to show you more, but it's kind of hard to show underneath the car. I don't have a lift, so cameras, I'm right in the way of the camera. So if you have this problem with your Taurus Sable, Mercury Sable, I hope it helps you out. If you like the video, subscribe below. Thanks for watching.